Hi, I'm Lauren Grace, host of the Afterlight Podcast, mindset and manifestation coach and medium. With over 20 years in self-development, I specialize in empowering people like you to unlock your inner power and live the life you want. Drawing from my background in radio, online platforms, events, and business management, I offer comprehensive training in mindset, business strategies, and personal growth. My goal is simple: to help you realize your full potential and thrive in both business and life. My holistic approach to coaching and teaching sets me apart as I incorporate practical strategies, actionable steps, and spiritual insights in all I do. As a medium, I can connect with higher guidance and deliver messages that resonate deeply with your soul, guiding you towards clarity, healing, and empowerment. I'm dedicated to creating a supportive environment where you can explore your aspirations, overcome challenges, and step into your highest potential. Together, we'll embark on a transformative journey of self-discovery, growth, and lasting change. The journey ahead is yours to shape. Join me today and begin your journey towards a more empowered and fulfilled life. Find out more at laurengraceinspirations.com. Instagram, what's up? Instagram live as well over on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Lauren Grace. I'm the host of the Afterlight Podcast. I'm also a mindset and manifestation coach and a medium. And I've decided to go live today to do a couple of little mini readings if you'd like some, but I'm also here to answer any of your questions. I gotta love me some Q&A. So I'm here to answer your questions on spirituality, on business, on mindset, on manifestation. So if you have any, just go ahead and leave those questions in the comments and I will answer them during our time together. I thought I would kick it off by doing a one-card reading. So let's see what Spirit has to say to us. If you have a particular question in mind, then this is going to give you a little bit of clarity, a little bit of support to really assist you on your journey. All right, so let's see. So I'm taking a card today from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. I tend to have a lot of different decks and I sort of circulate through them. And sometimes, I'll use a certain deck for a few weeks and then I'll swap and then I'll use another deck for a certain amount of time. So right now we're in the whole Wisdom of the Oracle phase again. Okay, so your card is Enchanting Gifts. And this is such a beautiful card. I love this card over there on Instagram and also on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook. All right, so we've got card number 27 here. And 2 + 7 is 9. And 9 is all about the end of a cycle. It's essentially things are wrapping up and then we're preparing for the next stage. What we see in this card as well is we see a cat extending its paw up to a woman who's coming out of a box and she's presenting herself in a very elegant manner. It's almost like there's an unveiling or a revealing. She's also dressed up for the occasion. There's a festive feel here with this card. There's also a lot of love and a lot of unconditional love and support for this card. So what we see here is we see the color pink. Pink for me is all about the unconditional love, right? It's all about the self-compassion, the self-love. It's also the color of the higher heart chakra. So when we see this card here, we're really being drawn into coming back to ourselves and really focusing on the things that are going to light up our light, that are going to make us feel happy, that are going to really support us on our journey. Now, the cool thing about this card is that we've also got this cat, sort of like a cheetah looking card or cat that's really extending its paw up and almost like reaching out and saying, number one, let me join you, but also let me support you. Let's do this together as a partnership. So when we see the words enchanting gifts, this is a lot about reminding us that there is an exchange of energy that also goes on. When we put out, we also need to be able to receive, right? So giving and taking, yin and yang. One of the things that we often do as soul-led women is we have challenges sometimes with receiving. Maybe there's some sort of feeling within us that we're not deserving of it, or that other people need more things more than we do. So this is a real reminder that we need to exchange gifts, that we need to exchange energy, that we can't just do all the time, that we also need to accept help, we need to accept support, we need to have a little bit of that acceptance that comes in for ourselves to be able to receive. All right, remember, you're worth it. That's what this is really talking about today. So I feel really called today to talk about a couple of different subjects. I want to talk about handing our worries over to God. I want to talk about using loving words, turning negativity into positivity, and also the power of noticing beauty all around. And so, number one, let's talk a bit about the concept of handing our worries over to God. One of the things that I think we can get caught up with, especially as entrepreneurs, as business professionals, as soul-led women, is that we've got our dreams, we've got our goals, we've got our aspirations. And very often what we do is we put out these intentions, we're working hard, we're doing the things that we want to do. But then what sometimes happens is we have that nagging voice that comes in, right? We've got that worrying voice that comes in that essentially says, oh, but what about this? This could happen. Or what about this? This could happen. And all of a sudden we start going down these shame spirals, or we start going down these imposter syndrome spirals, right? Where we're thinking, oh no, everyone's going to figure out that I'm a fraud and I'm not really, as good as I say that I am. Or we start worrying about things happening that are just going to be completely crazy, catastrophizing things, right? So what this card is really reminding us, it's reminding us, not this card, but this message here about handing our worries over to God. It's reminding us that we don't need to do everything on our own, and that we cast over our burdens to God, to the Christ light, to the divine, to source energy, that what we do is we actually free ourselves up to welcome in a new way of looking at the world, a new perspective. So there's this fantastic author, and her name is Florence Scovel Shinn. And I just really resonate with her teaching so much. And one of the things that she talks about is she talks about the idea of casting over our burdens to the Christ light. Now, you can say the Christ light, the divine, God, creator, source energy, the angels, it doesn't matter, right? The idea is that when we have these burdens, these challenges, these worries, these fears within ourselves, when we decide, you know what, I'm going to hand this over, I'm going to let this go, that's when we allow the magic and the miracles to happen. And one of the affirmations that I use from her, actually, I was going to show you, it's on my whiteboard here, but I'll just share it with you, is I say, I cast over my burdens to the Christ light within, and I go free. I cast over my burdens to the Christ light within, and I go free. And then sometimes what I do is I imagine my fist clenched real tight, like I'm holding on to everything, like I'm struggling and suffocating. And then I go, I cast over my burdens to the Christ light within, and I go free. And I kind of physically do that and just say, you know what, I'm going to let that go. And one of the reasons why I find that affirmation so powerful is because we are the light. We are one with all that there is. And so when we remember that we can transmute fear, that we can transmute energy within our own soul, within our own self, that puts us back in the driver's seat of the creation process of becoming the creator that we are. When we succumb to the negative thoughts, or when we succumb to fear and worry, what that does is it lowers our vibration. It stops us from being able to show up in the world the way that we want to. It stops us from shining our light as bright as we can. And when we go, you know what? No, I'm going to choose a different thought here. I'm going to choose to take these burdens, these challenges, these fears, these worries. I'm going to cast them over to the Christ light within. And then I'm going to go free. I just love that. So using loving words is the other thing I wanted to talk about today. And using loving words is a lot around being aware of what we are telling ourselves on a regular basis. The average person thinks between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts a day. And when we're having these thoughts, very often it's like 80 to 90% of them are reoccurring, the same type of thought. When we're having these thoughts, what we're doing is we're essentially bathing ourselves in negativity. We're bathing ourselves in fear. We're bathing ourselves in worry. And what happens when we do that? Well, all of a sudden we start feeling low energy. We start feeling negative. We start feeling emotional and getting upset over things. Things start to trigger us that normally wouldn't bother us. All of a sudden something happens that maybe is not to our liking. And then we focus on that. And then all of a sudden it turns into a bigger thing and a bigger thing and a bigger thing and a bigger thing. And a big challenge that we have here is making sure that we can be in the present moment enough to be aware when this is happening, so that when we can be aware that this is happening, we can what? We can choose a different direction. We can choose a different feeling. We can choose a different thought. And we do that by inviting in things that make us feel good. Good music, meditation, going for a walk, journaling. I recently was, kind of having a bit of an attitude problem about something. And I was like, I knew I needed to get into the office and go ahead and do some work. And I thought, you know what? The last thing that I want to do right now is come and share my message with the world and work on my business when I'm having a bit of an attitude problem. So what I did, I went outside, I sat on the deck, I sat in the sun, I did a bit of meditation, and I reset my mind. I reset my energy, and I decided I was going to stop the way that I was feeling, and I was going to ask and choose a different thought. And that's what I did. And then what happens is all of a sudden things start to flow naturally again. So remembering that when we're using loving words, when we're using supportive words, when we're making decisions that are going to lift us up and make us feel better, we're going to be more happy, we're going to be more joyful, and we're going to attract that kind of energy. And when we're feeling down, we're feeling negative, we're feeling, maybe worrisome and fearful, number one, we know to cast over our burdens so we don't have to continue with that. But the other thing that what we want to do is we want to remember our power within those moments. We want to remember our power in those moments to choose something different for ourselves. And that comes into being present in the here and now, noticing when we're having these spiraling thoughts. I remember I had this moment, I think it was like a couple of years ago now, and I was sitting there and I was worrying about something. And I often talk about the cog in the machine going round and round and round with that worrisome thought. And I remember being the observer, noticing myself in the moment, noticing myself having this worry, having this thought, and then going, why am I choosing this? Right? I was like, girl, why are you choosing this? I was literally sitting there choosing to suffer when I could have chosen something different. So is there a loving word that you can invite in that's going to support you, such as love? Is there a loving word that you can invite in that can help you when you are feeling distracted by worry or negativity? What would that word be? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Some loving words that you could invite in include love or heart or soul. I love that word, soul. You could also do things if you can't necessarily think of a word, but you could bring in like a sentence. For example, I am positive, or I am happy, I am joyful. Could also, of course, start to notice the beauty of all the things around you. You could start to go, okay, maybe I'm spiraling and I'm worried about something that may or may not happen, probably will never happen. What if I started to focus on all of the beauty around me? What if I started to focus on the smells in the air or the helpful people in my life? One of the things we can do when we're in these moments of challenge and tribulation is we can actually think about the people that we love in our lives. And we can actually send them a message and let them know how important they are to us. Put out that positive energy. So I've got a couple questions coming through. So why don't I go ahead and answer them? I'm going to turn off my heat for a minute because it's a little bit toasty in here. So, and remember, like if you've got a question or if you want a little mini message for yourself, I would be happy to share that with you. And Valerie, I just saw your message here. Valerie goes and I go free. Totally. I'm so glad that resonated with you. For me, that is just such a powerful message. It got covered in goosebumps as soon as I read that. I go free. I love that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer a couple of questions. And we've got here, how can I practice self-compassion and avoid burnout? Okay, that's a great question. So how can I practice self-compassion and burnout? When we are wanting to avoid burnout, we have to have time for self-compassion. That is a no-brainer. So how can you practice self-compassion? By deciding to make it a priority. That's the thing. When we choose to make self-compassion a priority, that is when we can avoid burnout. Now, when we look at self-compassion, it's about understanding what self-compassion is going to look like for you. For me, self-compassion is about understanding that I'm doing the best that I can, knowing that when I make a mistake or I do something or say something that I wouldn't, necessarily wish I'd done or said, I just have to be compassionate for myself in that moment, and knowing that, I'm coming from a place of integrity. I'm coming from a place of love. I'm coming from a place where I want to, be of service to the world, and I'm doing the best that I can. And so I think self-compassion is really a lot about reminding ourselves of that, giving ourselves that time to really rest and reflect as well. When we talk about self-compassion in terms of avoiding burnout, I also want to ask about self-care, right? So self-compassion for me is about understanding ourselves. It's about being kind to ourselves, being loving, and doing things that are going to nurture ourselves. And that can be wrapped up, I believe, in self-love, in self-care. So what does self-love and self-care look like to you? Sometimes it could be just sitting quietly in the sunshine and just taking a couple of breaths. When we are looking at avoiding burnout, a big part about what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're not spending our energy ceaselessly, that we're taking the time to really be in the moment and not worrying or stressing too much about the next steps and going too far ahead. One of the things that I see a lot of people do is they struggle or they have challenges with wanting to be a certain place and then they're not actually there yet. And that causes burnout, because what we do is we're trying to do everything all of the time. We've got all these balls in the air. We're not creating space for self-care. We're not being compassionate with ourselves along the journey. We're rushing, we're forcing things. And when we can remember to take one little step at a time to get to where we need to go, and when we're in that step, to just focus on that one step right now, here and now, that helps us to be more compassionate with ourselves along the journey and then avoid burnout. All right. So what's another question? How can I develop a more positive and growth-oriented mindset in my everyday life? That's awesome. I love that. So how can I develop a more positive and growth-oriented mindset in my everyday life? All right. So what I believe when we, look at that question, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the screen here for those of y'all on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. How can I develop a more positive and growth-oriented mindset? This is really about you deciding that you want to do that. What I often find is that when we are wanting to learn new things, when we know we don't necessarily have everything figured out, that's when we can really start to move into that growth mindset. So people with a fixed mindset are people that believe that you can't necessarily improve, that you are born with the skills and the gifts that you have, and that's it. People with a growth mindset understand that when they work hard for things, when they learn new ideas, new perspectives, and then implement those trainings, that they can in fact grow and become something so much bigger than they thought. One of the things that I really believe that we need to do a little bit more of is understanding that challenges, quote unquote, failures, losses, things like that are actually opportunities for us to learn and to grow, for opportunities for us to open ourselves up to a new perspective, look maybe outside the window instead of going through the door, for example. So I often, look at when I was made redundant. I was made redundant during COVID, and it shocked me. I was not expecting that at all. Although on a side note, that day I knew something was wrong, but it surprised me so much. And so I had a couple of different choices in that moment. How did I want to take this on? Did I want to sit there and wallow and feel sorry for myself? Or did I want to look at it as an opportunity of being set free to do what I came here to do, which is the coaching that I'm doing, the mentoring, the podcast, all these other things, right? At the time, I wasn't aware of that, of course. So I allowed myself a couple of days to just feel sad. And then I just got to work. And I started thinking about, well, what is it that I want to do and who is it that I want to become? And I started to remember, you know what? This is an opportunity. It's a letting go. It's a setting me free to really step into where I want to go and who I want to be. And sometimes challenges can seem like they're the end of the world and we don't know what's going to come, but there is always light in that shade. And one of the beautiful things is that we don't have to navigate these challenges, these situations on our own, that we can invite in the angels to support us. So one angel that's really helpful, for example, if you're wanting to attract and work with helpful people and people who can assist you on your journey, is Archangel Raguel. That's Raguel. And Archangel Raguel comes in with a beautiful, strong blue light. I'm still getting to know Archangel Raguel, but already I've put him on my team and he is working for me. I'm making great connections. I'm meeting new people. I'm getting aware of networking opportunities that are coming up, things like that. And that's such a cool thing about what Archangel Raguel can do. Because sometimes when we have challenges in our lives, well, what we do is we go, all right, well, let me see the opportunity. And sometimes the opportunity comes in the form of somebody reaching out to us and saying, hey, I've got this great opportunity, or Lauren, do you want to come speak at this event, or, anything along those lines. Archangel Jophiel, Jophiel, is an angel that is so helpful and so supportive to help us have beautiful thoughts. So sometimes when challenges come, if we're feeling negative, if we're feeling challenged in our minds, we're worrying about things, inviting in Archangel Jophiel to help us with our beautiful thoughts. Also, I love to invite in Archangel Raphael. And Archangel Raphael comes in with his beautiful healing green light energy. And when we're wanting to see the positive in a situation and we're wanting to embrace that growth mindset, sometimes we need to invite in a little bit of healing, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of guidance in the form of like, what are the things that I can do to nurture myself right now? And Archangel Raphael can really assist with that. I also love to invite in Archangel Michael. I mean, he's a classic, right? He comes in to help us with our life purpose, to help us figure out, maybe what's going on. Where is the opportunity here? Comes in with strength and comes in with protection with his strong, beautiful blue light. Okay, next question. What daily habits can help me stay positive and resilient? That's a great question. Thank you. I love these. So what daily habits? So for me, I really think it's important to make sure that we're paying attention to our foundations, that we're making sure that we're paying attention to doing things that are going to support ourselves for the most success. So I always love to work with people to ask them, who is it that you want to become? And what does that future person look like? What do they do? What does their daily activity look like, right? So for example, do they do yoga? Do they run? Do they do meditation? Do they eat healthy? Do they wear a certain type of clothing? What do they look like? And really getting clear on our future self. And then we can start to make decisions that are going to take us into that direction. I find that very often we get caught up with not making choices that are supporting our future self because we don't always know who it is we want to be, where we want to go and grow. And then we're not really motivated to make those decisions. The thing is that when we overthink things and when we spend too long thinking about stuff, we really allow fear to come in, right? And fear can be debilitating. It can stop us from really making those decisions, going to those new places, showing up for ourselves in the morning, drinking a bunch of water instead of drinking maybe some pop, for example. So the question is, what daily habits can help me stay positive and resilient? So I think you need to work that out for you. You need to work out, well, what are the things that you want to do? Can you incorporate them into your life every day? Where can you schedule them in? Instead of doing a 1-hour yoga practice, because maybe that's going to seem like it's too far-fetched, can you do a 20-minute one initially? And then can you add on, make it 25, make it 30 once you're sort of in the habit and you're flowing with that? So daily habits is a lot about deciding what you're going to do, deciding why you're going to do it, and then creating the space in your day to make that happen. And the morning, we hear a lot about, I think it's Al Harrod's book about the miracle morning. The morning is that opportunity for us to really go, okay, I'm going to do some of these things for myself in the morning while I've got my energy. If we get up 15 minutes earlier a day than we normally do, we can get back over 3 days a year. So just getting up 15 minutes earlier a day is going to really assist you with creating that space to do the things that you want to do. Now, one thing I would really recommend as well is that to help you along your way, that you join my Master Your Mindset program. And that's 21 days of mastering your mindset, 21 days to help you to grow in love for yourself, to create space for yourself, to grow in confidence, to boost your self-esteem, to connect with your heart, and to really connect with who you are. And so every day what I do is I send you an email reminding you about the challenge. It links off to an audio download that you get from me, which includes a workbook. And then you fill in the journal prompts, and you do it every single day, and it takes you towards a more confident version of yourself. And the reason why I have it for 21 days is because that's how long it takes to form a habit. So if you start something like that challenge, and then you want to continue to invite in these positive daily habits for yourself, you're already going to be well on your way by already have starting a challenge and continuing that flow and that momentum. Awesome. I'll do one more question here and then I will wrap it up. So, how can I make sure my business goals? I think I've already answered that question. Okay. What are some ways to keep me inspired and creative in my business? So, I really feel that we need to find the fun in what we do in life. And so, for example, it's following those feelings that feel good to us. And one of the things that I think sometimes is when we're working on our business or we're working on different things, that we forget to really enjoy the journey, to enjoy the ride. So what I do sometimes when I'm working, let's say I'm working on something that's not super exciting, okay? I'll put on some great music, or I'll put on a masterclass or a movie or something like that while I'm working on it to just add in that little element of joy, of creativity. I'll also have a lovely coffee, and I've got candles going and some incense, and I put on my essential oils, and I do these things to really bring in that creativity, that high energy, to really help me enjoy what it is that I'm doing, especially if it's something that at that particular moment may not be lighting me up, although most of the stuff that I do does. There are some really great essential oils as well that you can use to really help you to feel a little bit more energetic. A lot of the citrus oils, such as bergamot, orange, mandarin, grapefruit, lime, lemon, those are essential oils that can really help you with your energy and keeping your energy high. And I find that when we want to be inspired and creative, sometimes it's because we're tired that we may not be feeling that. So having a diffuser with some of those essential oils, or having a little bit of an oil burner around to bring in those beautiful senses, those beautiful smells. Another thing that you can do is you can look at wearing clothing that you love. I'm wearing black right now. It's really not very inspiring, isn't it? But if I was wearing pink or multicolor or an amazing dress or something like that, it might all of a sudden just really shift me into feeling a little bit more energetic. I feel energetic at the moment, so I'm not really too worried about the fact that I'm wearing black. But if I wanted to feel more creative, I would dress the part. The other thing that we can do when we want to look at being creative and inspired in our business is looking at different ways of adding gamification to what we're doing. Are there ways that you can add in a little bit more fun, a little bit more joy into maybe your products or services that you're offering? Why is it that there isn't enough inspiration or creativity happening? Have you kind of been doing the same thing all of the time? Do you need to take a step back? I often talk about coming through the front door. So what that means is it's when running your business all the time, you're doing the same thing all of the time. You sort of forget to go through the front door and see the user experience for your customer, for your client. What's the user experience like for your customer, for your client? Do they maybe want a little bit of a color pizzazz? Do they maybe want a little bit of a freshen up For example, if you have a brick and mortar store, do you want to put maybe some flowers on the desk, for example, to really brighten that up? If you're going to be sending out a newsletter for your audience, do you maybe want to change up the template a little bit so it's not the same thing that they keep on seeing? So there are a lot of different ways for you to be creative and inspired in your business. And sometimes it's taking that moment to step back and then focus on, okay, well, what can we do here to add a little bit of joy, a little bit of fun, a little bit of light? So I hope that you found that helpful today. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'll be back. I am aiming to go live 2 times a week now. If you want to know when I'm live, please do sign up for my newsletter. You can go ahead and check out the free offers I've got on my website at laurengraceinspirations.com. And I will email you an hour before I go live. I also email you lots of tips and tricks and spiritual guidance and your card of the day. And I let you know about the different podcasts that we've got going live so that you can make sure you're not missing any episodes. And I spend a lot of time creating and cultivating that newsletter. So I really hope that you'll join me there. Thank you for being here. And I'll talk to you again next week. Awesome. Hi, I'm Lauren Grace, host of the Afterlight Podcast, mindset and manifestation coach and medium. With over 20 years in self-development, I specialize in empowering people like you to unlock your inner power and live the life you want. Drawing from my background in radio, online platforms, events, and business management, I offer comprehensive training in mindset, business strategies, and personal growth. My goal is simple: to help you realize your full potential and thrive in both business and life. My holistic approach to coaching and teaching sets me apart as I incorporate practical strategies, actionable steps, and spiritual insights in all I do. As a medium, I can connect with higher guidance and deliver messages that resonate deeply with your soul, guiding you towards clarity, healing, and empowerment. I'm dedicated to creating a supportive environment where you can explore your aspirations, overcome challenges, and step into your highest potential. Together, we'll embark on a transformative journey of self-discovery, growth, and lasting change. The journey ahead is yours to shape. Join me today and begin your journey towards a more empowered and fulfilled life. Find out more at laurengraceinspirations.com.